We have with us Joe, the Brown Insurance guy, talking about a little back-to-school stuff. Now, in my home, when we talk about back-to-school, we're talking about going to college. Whenever you're here, you got some younger kids. I guess either way, getting back to school and getting ready is a daunting task.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens every year. It's, the buses start rolling again. The kiddos start going back to school. And while we've already started school so far, it's not a bad idea to kind of review and go through just, again, make sure that that your kiddo is prepared for the upcoming year. You know, there's a lot of things, especially for youngsters. You know, you mentioned your kiddos are going off to college. I've got one that is starting kindergarten this year and one that is starting fifth grade. So a little bit different circumstance, but you want to make sure that they're prepared not only from hey, did I make sure I packed everything correctly for school supplies? Because there's a ton of lists out there, and it's no longer just pencils and paper and notebooks anymore. A lot of times it's, iPads and computers and all that. Luckily, GISD is on board with technology, so they're providing a lot of that, those technological items for the kiddos. But it's things like, hey, let's make sure I've got the basics. Early ages, it's crayons, it's pencils. Go check out those school lists to make sure your kiddo is supplied the way they need to be. But it's also about things like making sure they've got all the required shots and making sure their shot records and medical records are up to date. Some schools may require that they show proof that they have had their immunization. So if you haven't had that yet, maybe a good idea to go by and make sure that's done. A couple other things, too. It's a great time to get your kiddo's vision checked as well. One of the hardest things in school is to deal with not being able to see the board, or in these days, not being able to read what's on your laptop or your computer these days, since that's where a lot of the education's taking place. And it has shown in the past that if your eyesight and your vision is not up to par, that just makes it even harder to get through subjects and subject matter that's already difficult for these kids to take on anyway. So it's a good idea to go get the eyes checked, make sure they're seeing 20/20. If they need to get that vision corrected, now's a great time to do it. We've got some great places here in town that you can go and get that done. The other thing, too, is always make sure that, the dress code is up to par. Most schools that I'm aware of around here don't really have a dress code, but, you want to make sure that clothes are looking good. While it's not a fashion show at school, kids are impressionable, so you want to make sure that you're giving your kid a good way to start. Not saying you got to go out and buy all new clothes, but hey, let's make sure the clothes are look good, make the kids feel good, and make it even easier for them to kind of go throughout their day. A couple other things you want to make sure you know of as well is just make sure you know the phone numbers of the schools, and make sure you kind of visit the websites. A lot of schools these days not only have a Facebook page, Graham ISD obviously has a main website you can go to. Some schools are also employing things like Twitter and stuff like that. We had a lot of closures last year due to weather, so you want to make sure you're up to date on that hey, if there is an inclement weather day, make sure that you're going to know about that. So just be sure that you do some research and know where you can get that information. Also, if school's letting out early, parent-teacher conferences is another thing that you want to make sure you're aware of. Again, utilize technology as much as you can. The other thing you want to make sure of, too, is kind of in the morning. Make sure you get your kiddos off to a great start. Give them a good breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I think I skipped it this morning, so maybe that's the reason why. But make sure you get them off to school in the morning with a good, healthy, nutritious breakfast. Also kind of alert to school if your kiddo's got a food allergy or something like that. Know how your kid's getting back and forth to school. You don't want to just open the door and say, "See you later, Johnny." Hey, is he walking to school? Is he getting on a bus? Am I taking him? Is he riding his bike? Go through that plan with them so they know where your kid's going to be traveling to school, and also how he's getting home, so that, hey, you're checking your watch, it's 5 o'clock, why is little Johnny not home? I need to go figure out, hey, did he walk home? Is he taking his bike? How am I going to retrace those steps to make sure he's okay? And also, obviously, arrange a carpool if you can work into that situation. So, and then kind of post-school, after school, obviously, we want to make sure we get the homework done as quick as possible. Set some limits for the kids on computer time and fun activities. Leave that for the weekend or after they get their homework done to make sure they're as successful as they can be throughout the school year. Just, kind of some tips and some ideas for you.
For me, one of the big things, I I guess here in Graham and around the area, some of the other towns, is that when you're taking your kids to school, be very mindful in those school zones about not speeding. Staying off your cell phone is a fine for using your cell phones in a school zone. And, calling Bryan Insurance and making sure that you're up to par on your insurance, because there are a lot of accidents that take place around those schools.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest times a year we see a lot of claims, and one of the things they should tell you is that's a big issue. Is people used to all summer they're riding around these schools. You don't even give it a second thought, and then especially if you don't have kids and you don't really know when school starts, and you start blazing through there, and next thing you know, it is a 20-mile-an-hour school zone. A lot of tickets getting written, and just, hey, a lot of kids are rolling around, either crossing the street to get to school, or maybe they're walking down the sidewalk, and then they're going to jump out in front of a car because they're not looking. You need to always just kind of be on guard, especially this time of year, that, hey, school's back in session. I may not see it, maybe the flashing light is off and the kids are in school, but maybe you got a few stragglers that are coming in late or something like that. You need to just kind of make sure you're always looking out for the little ones out there and the big ones too. High school kids cross streets too. You want to make sure you're not talking on your cell phone, being distracted, being a distracted driver, and make sure you don't get into any issues with that from a liability standpoint or a claim standpoint.
Yeah, same thing when you got football games going on, you got band practices going on, all these things going on. There are so many of them around junior high, high school, things like that. It's being mindful of your situation and where you're at as you're going around there. Now, if you have any questions on any of these items, or if you would like to talk to Joe about your car insurance and different things like that, Joe, how they get a hold of you?
Real simple, Rick. It's, of course, 549-2525. You can call, talk to Ann, Lynette, myself. We also have some great folks over in the commercial lines department. If you want to come on up to the second floor of the Sierra Bank building, we'll give you that free elevator ride up to the second floor. Or visit our website, BryanINS.com. Also, check out our Facebook page. A lot of these tips that I've talked about today, we're posting on our Facebook page this week, kind of a series we're doing just to kind of make sure we're getting the information out there. So go to Facebook.com, look up Bryan Insurance. Like us. That's the best way to track and follow kind of what we're doing and the information we're putting out there. So go check out Facebook.com, Bryan Insurance, and we'll make sure you're covered the way you need to be.
That's Joe, the Bryan Insurance guy. Stay tuned. We have more coming up.